Have you ever stopped to think that everything that you want in your life, in your career, for your organization is currently controlled by someone else? Let's say you want a new job. Well, someone has to decide that you are the person for that job. Same's true with a promotion. Let's say you want new customers for your organization. Well, the customers get to decide where they spend their money. Their money is controlled by them, not you. So how do you get chosen? How do you get selected? Whether it's for a new job, a career, a promotion, customers for your organization, hey, maybe even the person that you desire to spend time with and commit to in your life. How do you get selected? Well, that's why this course is so important. I'm Scot McKain, and welcome to our course on creating distinction. I believe distinction is one of the most important and incredible things that we can learn how to create simply because it sets us apart from the competition. Let's use organizations as an example. Every organization wants a customer to choose them, right? We want to be the place where you spend your money. Here's the problem: we often don't think about it in the proper way. It's not that we want customers to choose us. That's only part of the story. The full package is we want customers to choose us instead of the myriad of other alternatives that they find in today's marketplace. So the real goal for us is to create distinction. How do we get to the point that we stand out from our competition, whether it's for the job or for the promotion or for customers or other aspects of our personal and professional life? How do we get to the point that we're chosen instead of the other alternatives? That's what we're going to examine. But first, let's talk about what distinction truly is. I believe there's three levels at which we can look at this. The first level, the lowest level, I call sameness. Sameness, unfortunately, is where most people, professionals, organizations, it's the area they fall into. And here's the reason why. It's difficult to distinguish one from another. How many times do you see this in your personal or professional life? It's hard to choose between alternatives because every option seems so similar. When I speak with businesses and organizations, I hear them say, yeah, but we have the lowest price. Well, if price is the only determining factor that makes you different from your competition, then all your competitor has to do is lower their price to beat you. In other words, price is not a differentiator. Price is just a drive to the bottom. If I can't tell the difference, though, as a customer, as an employer, if I can't tell the difference between you and the other alternatives, why would I pick you? There really is no advantage one way or the other. So sameness is the worst place where any of us can be trapped. The second level is differentiation. I hear a lot of folks talk about the importance of differentiation, but I'm going to push back on that just a little bit. Because just because you're different doesn't mean you're creating a meaningful differentiation. In other words, if your logo is red instead of blue, if your hair is green instead of orange, I don't find that to be compelling. In other words, you can be different, but the differentiation isn't enough to compel me to choose you. So we see differentiation in the marketplace, but sometimes it's not really effective. Some people push back and say, well, distinction isn't that important because I'm not getting chosen. If you're not getting chosen, you're not distinctive. You might be different, but it doesn't mean you've created a meaningful differentiation. So the middle level is differentiation. Hey, if there's something about you that I notice and you're different, that's good, but different isn't compelling enough to move me to choose you. We'll talk more about this in a later segment. The highest is what I call distinction. And what makes distinction at the highest level is there is something significant about you. There is something significant about what you do and who you are that compels me to choose you instead of the other alternatives. We can make a list of organizations that have reached that high level. In fact, some of them have become cliches. We talk about them so much, right? Apple, Starbucks, Southwest Airlines, on and on and on. But when we really examine it, we find that what they did was to create some kind of meaningful differentiation and distinction in today's marketplace. In other words, what they did that was different was so compelling, we were moved to choose them instead of the other alternatives that are out there. So the purpose of this course is to talk about how do we get there. There are 4 primary cornerstones to distinction, and we're going to be talking about all of them. Our case study for distinction is going to be where I am today at High Point University in High Point, North Carolina. High Point University has become a model of distinction. It's not the same as every other institution out there, and there are things about High Point that are different and unique, but a lot of universities have points that they say, oh, this differentiates us from other schools. High Point has reached a level of distinction because what they are doing is so compelling that students and their parents are choosing this campus as opposed to the other institutions where they could enroll. So we got a great case study. We've talked about the importance of creating distinction. And let's close this part of the program with this simple thought. Life is about being chosen. Your career is going to be about being chosen. In other words, being chosen for the job, being chosen for the promotion, being chosen that you're the sales representative, for example, or the financial advisor that we want to spend money with or invest with. And so what we're learning here is one of the most important aspects that we can learn as a life skill, as a professional skill, as a personal skill. It's what can we do to position ourselves so we are chosen more frequently. Does this work 100% of the time? Absolutely not. What does? But what we're looking for is more often than not. More often than not, we choose the distinctive as opposed to the average. More often than not, we choose the distinctive as opposed to the similar. We respond to our differences, not our similarities. I am married to this wonderful woman named Tammy, and I think about when I proposed marriage to Tammy. When I got down on bended knee and I had the little box with the ring in it, I didn't look up at her and say, honey, will you marry me? You're exactly like every other woman I've ever dated in my life. That would not be a strong proposal. What did I talk about when I proposed to her? I talked about how unique our relationship was, how distinctive our relationship was, how exceptional she was as a person that I wanted to spend the rest of my life with. In other words, we're attracted to our distinction, not our similarities. So this is why distinction is one of the most critical aspects that we can talk about, that we can learn. So thank you for joining me on this journey and through this course. And by the time the course is over, you will know the factors that you need to employ professionally and personally to stand out and move up.